How is it already March? I have no idea, but happy March to you all. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, the March of the Penguins has started. They've won 3 in a row heading into this month. And, definitely looking like buyers right now. A lot of trade smoke around this team, but not a lot of fire. It looks like right now we're going to get into that a little later on in the show. But to start the show, I'm going to get into just how badly the Penguins dominated the Predators on Tuesday night and why, things are starting to look a little more up right now after that really embarrassing loss to the Oilers last week. That's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes, follow the show's Twitter at @NLSR Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. You can visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And of course, we are free and available on all platforms. Excuse me. So let's jump right into it. Penguins 3, Predators 1 on Tuesday night, a game that looked like it was not going to go their way, especially after they were playing well. But Sidney Crosby steps right up, I should say, ties the game. Jason Zucker gets the game winner with less than 2 minutes left, and Brian Rust gets the empty netter, the put away. But this is the third game in a row during this winning streak now where they have really dominated play. They crushed the Blues this past Saturday. Should have been a much more lopsided score. The fact that they even went to overtime just goes to show how great Jordan Binnington was. They destroyed Tampa Bay. That was a game they very much deserved to win. And then this one, they were badly beating the Predators for the final 2 periods, but the only reason why it was close, UC Saros, he's one of the best goaltenders in this league. You all saw that last night. The Penguins, they played very well. And honestly, since coming back from the All-Star break, I know the results haven't been there. The 2 games against the Islanders obviously stand out like a sore thumb because they win those. They're up to 73 points right now. I'm saying this right now, Jens. If they win those 2 games, they're 4 points behind the Rangers right now. We could be talking about them getting top 3 in the Metro this season, potentially having a series against either the Rangers or the Devils this season. But that's not likely right now. But you got to live with what you have. But still, it was a big night for them. They got points 68 and 69. Very nice. The Sabres lost in regulation. The Red Wings lost in regulation. And the Islanders lost in overtime. Penguins up 3 points for that final playoff spot. 1 point behind the Islanders for wild card 1. And the Penguins have 4 games in hand on them. The games in hand really starting to show right now. But just overall, since the All-Star break, I've really liked, some of these performances, even though they haven't been wins. The games against the Islanders, they destroyed them. They shouldn't get the result. Outside of the game against Edmonton, New Jersey, they put together some pretty decent performances. Again, the Blues, you dominate a bad team. You win barely, but you still get the win. Tampa Bay, you dominate a very good team, get a blowout win. And in this one, you dominate a team. It's a lot closer than I think some expected it to be because the Predators had no Ryan Johansson, no Philip Forsberg, no Tanner Janot. No Matthias Ekholm, he just got traded. No Nino Niederreiter. They were down a lot of regulars who were either out via trade or injuries, and the game was still close. They gave up a breakaway 20 seconds in, which was ridiculous. But outside of, I should say, the first 10 minutes of this game, I thought the Penguins were by far the better team in this one, and the numbers also back it up. At 5-on-5, the Penguins had 58% of the shot attempts, 55% of the scoring chances, 59% of the high danger chances, and 60% of the expected goals. They were taking it to the Predators almost all game long. The Penguins also only allowed 8 shots total in the final 2 periods of the game. Only 7 high danger chances against in the final 40 minutes. Very good job. That's all 5v5. Very good job by the Penguins defenders. And I would just say the whole lineup in this one. But who I really want to highlight in this, hasn't gotten much love this year, Brock McGinn. I thought he played a tremendous game for the Penguins, probably the best game he's played in over 2 months, I would say. At this point, obviously got his first point since late December, since 2022. This was his first point of the year. not the season, but just the year in general. We're already into March. But he made the play to get the Penguins back into it. That pass that he made to Sidney Crosby was terrific. And a player like McGinn just got put on waivers 5 to 6 hours before. You could have just mailed it in and be like, hey, I don't want to play for you guys anymore. You don't want me. General manager doesn't want me, but he gave it his all. I mean, I think he wanted to show something in front of his dad, and I think show something to his teammates and the coaching staff. And he sure did. He threaded that pass beautifully to Sidney Crosby to spring him for the breakaway. Sid's able to go 5-hole on Saros to beat him, to tie the game at 1 with about, 9 minutes left in the third period. Tremendous play from him. I thought he was penalty killing hard, that he was playing better offensively than he had been. Just a really nice game from a player who really has just not had a lot of good games this season. But when it mattered most, he made the play that needed to be made and got the Penguins. I shouldn't say right back in the game. They were obviously in the game, but got the Penguins back to even before Jason Zucker was able to score. I don't really know what they have for their plans with him. I would think they're probably going to send him down to Wilkes-Barre now because, the big news from the day, Brock McGinn and Mark Friedman both cleared waivers. So if they were both go down to Wilkes-Barre, the Penguins will have about $4 million in salary cap space for Friday's trade deadline. That's probably what I'm expecting. But, you could also trade him in a deal. If that was his last game for the Penguins and he does not play on Thursday night, I'm not really sure if he will. What a way to go out. I thought he played very well in that game, and I really wanted to highlight that during this first segment. It was great to see him, get rewarded for his efforts that game. And, I've had him on my show. He's probably one of the nicest players that I've ever had the chance of speaking to. He loves playing here. He's obviously loved by his teammates. This team is very tight, very close. You saw that on display when he was given the Warrior helmet. And then even Mike Sullivan had some glowing comments about him after the game. So great job by Ginner. Just beautiful pass and was able to spring Crosby for that goal. Jason Zucker gets the game winner. Saros looked like he didn't even see that. They got a gift there. Usually Saros is on his game in that sort of situation. The fact that he didn't see that, the Penguins got very lucky. Then Brian Rust, great individual effort to make it 3-1 with just about 10 seconds left in the third period. And this was a game where the Penguins badly needed those 2 points. I am sorry. If you are playing a Predators team without, all of that high-end talent that they were missing from their lineup, anything less than 2 points would be a failure. They got them. It's 3 in a row. You're starting to win some games in hand, starting to hopefully right the ship, and you beat a bad team that is already selling and I think is probably going to make another move or two before the trade deadline. I thought most of the top line was fine in this game. I thought Evgeny Malkin was unbelievable again. The one player, obviously, that sticks out like a sore thumb is Chris Letang. Beautiful take pass to Mark Jankowski. I mean, don't know what he was seeing there. That's probably one of the worst plays I've ever seen him make in his career. You all know me. I'm a huge fan of his. Amazing player. Does a lot more good than bad. Very bad moment there. That could have been a lot more fatal if the Penguins had not come back to tie the game later on in the third period. But overall, strong win by the Penguins. Tristan Jarry as well. Great performance from him. You're really starting to see him get close to 100% again, which I think is, what we all want to see. He's been hurt for most of this year, not the season, but most of this year. And it doesn't take a genius to see that his conditioning didn't look right when he first came back against the Islanders. Gave up a couple of goals that, he probably would want back. Yeah, I think he definitely would want back, but in this one, made a lot of timely saves, especially when the Penguins were being outshot 14-4 in that first period. He was awesome. Would expect him to get the start on Thursday against Tampa Bay Lightning. But overall, solid team performance. That's 3 good performances in a row. We'll see if they can make it 4 on Thursday in the final game before the trade deadline. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get to all of the smoke that has been around the Penguins the last 24 hours. Brock Boeser, JT Miller, Jakob Chychrun, get all the latest news and notes from around the league in terms of trade talks and what Ron Hextall might be cooking up here. And then to end the show, we're going to do a full preview for Thursday's game against Lightning, the third and final matchup between these two teams. But before we get to that, if you are hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is also the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else, you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites, hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. One of the things I love about Indeed, it just makes hiring all in one place just super easy. Once you send in an application, people get back to you pretty quickly, and then boom, you have interviews just sometimes a few days later, sometimes a week later, something like that. They make it easy to hire great talent according to ComScore. It's the #1 job site worldwide, and it delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest. Starting right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Remember, you can start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. That goes through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Again, that's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we're back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Nashville Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So I have just been so worried recording this because, how many minutes are we into this now? Almost 12 minutes, because I felt like, okay, it would be so my luck if Ron Hextall makes a trade while I'm recording, and then I have to give a live reaction and just change up my show and yada, yada, yada. But it looks like that's not going to happen. Knock on wood. So let's jump right into it. There was so much smoke on Tuesday after I posted my episode with Rob Rossi. Brock Boeser, JT Miller, Jakob Chychrun, is a move about to be made? Pay attention to the lineup, yada, yada, yada. Nope. I think things might have cooled. I heard a couple of things. I'm not at liberty to share them right now. It's going to be, I think, for another time. After the trade deadline, I'm going to share what I heard yesterday. That's for a different time. Now we'll have to see if that deal goes through. But it's looking like potentially the Penguins will be trading for Brock Boeser, Marcus Pettersson, and P.O. Joseph, or one of them will be going back, which would just been ridiculous because I'm sorry, I don't think Marcus Pettersson is worth trading for Brock Boeser, who is, I think, just because for a captain with a better shot. Even POJ, I'd be a little hesitant because he's been pretty good this season. JT Miller with all that stuff from Matt Venzel. That contract is an albatross. He also has a lot of baggage on the ice. Kind of stay away from that one as well. Nothing really new to report on that. Pierre LeBrun said, they've had trade conversations. Josh Yohe said today that he's been told by people inside the organization that, the Penguins really want Ron Hextall to make a move before Friday's deadline. We're about 45 hours away from that point right now. He's the only GM in the Metropolitan Division to have not made a trade yet. See if that changes. He's also been told that, the Penguins have had trade talks with the Coyotes and the Canucks, and now obviously brings us Jakob Chychrun. Some of these teams that have been in on Chychrun are starting to make other moves today. Carolina Hurricanes acquire Shane Gostisbehere from the Arizona Coyotes. The Capitals yesterday acquire Rasmus Sandin for Eric Gustafsson from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The LA Kings earlier this morning acquired Gavrikov and Jonas Korpisalo from the LA Kings for Jonathan Quick, and that's a whole situation. I feel really bad for Quick there. So those are 3 teams right there. The Edmonton Oilers, they were checking in on Chychrun. They trade for Matthias Ekholm. 4 teams right there. Gone. Who's left? Columbus Blue Jackets, sure, but I don't think Chychrun would want to go there. The Detroit Red Wings, yeah, sure. They just made a pretty big trade with the Vancouver Canucks. They sent Filip Hronek and a 4th-round pick in exchange for a 1st and a 2nd-round pick. I have no freaking clue what the Canucks are doing there. That is just screams of stupidity. The Red Wings definitely have the picks. They have the prospects to make a trade for Chychrun work. Stay tuned for that. But the Blues may be there, but the Penguins, they're still looking around there. They would have to make the money work if they send a couple players down. $4 million right there. I still think of these big name players, Chychrun is the most likely to come to Pittsburgh. I would love a package deal that has him and someone like Lawson Krause or Nick Schmaltz coming the other way. I think you feel two needs right there, one of which obviously a new partner for Chris Letang, someone that can, sometimes clean up his messes defensively and also provide more offense to the back end, and especially Krause or Schmaltz, some bottom six help that this team desperately needs. I mean desperately needs right now. So I would love if they were to do like something like a package deal, like a 2-for-1 deal where, obviously you have a lot of picks and stuff going the other way, but you're still getting two players out of it. And according to Rob Rossi, that has been discussed between the Penguins and the Coyotes, but it's not really known how far down the road that is. Rob also reported today that they're still in pursuit of Chychrun. That has not changed. And he was also told last night that it doesn't look like Boeser is going to be coming to the Penguins. There's been a lot of smoke there, but doesn't look like that according to him, according to his sources right now. I'm sure there'll be other players on Hextall's radar. I saw John Klingberg and Dmitry Kulikov were healthy scratch today for trade-related reasons. Hard pass. I don't want either of those two players. Klingberg can still move the puck up the ice offensively, but his defense is just a train wreck. Dmitry Kulikov is just a left-handed version of Jan Ruda. Hard pass for me on that. If the Red Wings continue to be bad, tomorrow night, I would look into Tyler Bertuzzi. His numbers this year, not quite what you would want, but he's also been banged up at times. I think he makes a lot of sense for the team. You can plug him on the third line, something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. You're going to have to give to get. I do not expect this team, as is right now, to be the same after Friday at 3 p.m. I know it's bad timing with the dad's trip. I feel really bad for some of these players that are in on trade rumors right now, because you're going to have to explain to your dad, hey, Dad, yeah, I know you're on the trip with me, but yeah, I just got traded. If the Penguins do make a trade in the next 45 hours, I would feel really bad in that situation. So, we'll have to see. Again, just based off of Yoey's reporting today, it sounds like people inside the organization are potentially pushing for Hextall to make a trade. I don't know if he's feeling pressured, but there's definitely people in there that want him to get this team some help. I think last night, in these last 3 games, they have shown to this front office that they are worthy of getting some help on the trade market. You are 3 points up and for that final playoff spot. You made your bed with the core during the offseason. Kind of have no choice. And the Capitals, people are saying, look, why don't you do what the Capitals do? Capitals are 5 points out right now. They're punting. I mean, they've also played a lot more games than the Penguins have. Penguins have been a little more consistent than the Capitals have this season. Capitals have dealt with a lot of injuries. It's, I think the two situations are completely different. I wouldn't say completely different, but a little bit different. So that's what I have to explain about that. But yeah, we'll see here. I would love a 2-for-1 deal from Arizona. Vancouver, if you want to get someone from the Canucks, go after Connor Garland. He's the best winger you could probably get from there. Kuzmenko, if you want to try to get him, but the Canucks also just extended him, so I don't think that's going to happen at all. So just making sure here on Twitter, no, nothing else has happened. Okay, just had to make sure on that. But I think that will wrap up this segment of the Locked On Penguins podcast. That's your daily fix of trade rumors. Obviously, things can change in the blink of an eye. If I'm Hextall, again, I'm not going after those 2 Anaheim defensemen. I'm not going after James Van Riemsdyk. That's a total Hextall kind of move. I was not really a big fan of Shane Gostisbehere, though his numbers are not totally bad. Carolina kind of gave up nothing to get him. So I think if the Penguins wanted to give up something like that, I would not have minded. But, if they were giving up a pick this year, I kind of would have been like, not really a big fan of that. But 45 hours to go, things can change on the dot. It would also be my luck if I post this episode and the Penguins make a trade. So we'll have to see what happens there. Coming up in the final segment, I'm going to give you the keys as to how the Penguins can sweep the season series against the Tampa Bay Lightning this season. But before we get into that, it's time to talk about FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000, and that's bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just download FanDuel Sportsbook app right now. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and 3-strain. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and Locked On. All right, I'm back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Nashville Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So, Pens Bolts Thursday night, final game for the trade deadline. This Tampa Bay team is going to be coming into this matchup pissed the hell off. Pardon my language there. HE double hockey sticks. They just got blown out by the Panthers. They have basically had their controller disconnected for their last 3 to 4 games. They're not playing well right now. John Cooper is going to give it to them during practice in the morning skate. I would expect a very fired up team on Thursday night. That's going to be a very tough game for the Penguins to win. I know the Penguins have had a lot of success against the Lightning in the Mike Sullivan era. They've won 4 out of their last 5 against them. They seem to just create matchup problems for the Lightning. But no, I think this one's going to be a lot tougher to win because the Lightning are going to be coming into this really upset. They just need to reset a little bit after this last couple of games. But, line up again, Alex Killorn, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Brandon Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, Steven Stamkos, Tanner Janot. It looks like it's on the third line with Nick Paul and Ross Colton. Janot, that's a total Tampa Bay acquisition. Someone who, obviously they paid a lot for, but Tampa Bay doesn't care. Julian Bisbaugh, he actually had a pretty good explanation for it. He just said, if you look at the odds that all these picks have into turning into NHL players, they're not that high, which is why I want the help now and not have to think about all of this down the road. He's just kind of like a guy who's spamming picks. It's like, oh, I'm going to offer you this, and you're going to take it no matter what. And I think David Poile and Barry Trotz were like, okay, we'll do that. Wasn't an overpay? Yes, but this is a total Tampa Bay move. Would not be surprised if he goes out there and lights it up because he had 24 goals last season. He's struggling this year. We'll have to see, but he's on the line with Nick Paul and Ross Colton, and then Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Victor Hedman, Zach Bogosian, Mikhail Sergachev, Nicholas Perbix, Eric Chernik, and then Ian Cole. And then this time, my friends, you are going to see Andrei Vasilevsky. They are not going to start Brian Elliott. There is no game for the Lightning tonight. This will be Vasilevsky. This will be the first time and potentially the only time the Penguins have seen Vasilevsky this season. Penguins beat Vasilevsky twice last year, actually lit him up in the 2 games that they won. I think the one down in Tampa, they put up, I think it was like at least 4 to 5 goals on him. And then the one, I think actually both games in Tampa Bay, I should say, they put up at least 4 goals on him. They knew how to beat him last season. We'll have to see if that carries over to this year. Get traffic in front of them. The Penguins have really been going through a stretch here where they're playing against some of the better goaltenders in the league. I know Jordan Binnington is not, but he had a very good game. UC Saros, Andrei Vasilevsky, probably one of the best goalie of this generation. Got to get traffic in front of him. He, unlike Saros, he is a big body. He can swallow up basically the entire net. And so, you have to get traffic in front of Saros, but he's a different goalie because he's a lot smaller. So if you can get him to move a little bit, that's, I think, where his weakness is. But for Vasilevsky, his movement is his strength. You still got to get traffic in front of him. Make it as impossible for him to see those pucks coming in as possible. And, just honestly, for the most part, do what you did last time, except, they had a little bit of a sluggish start, I would say, against Tampa Bay on Sunday, outside of the Drew O'Connor goal, which I'm going to finish off the show with a little quick shout out to him in just a second. But you allow the Lightning to come back to take the lead 2-1. You're kind of starting to tilt the ice a little bit, but then, once you get that goal to make it 2-2, the floodgates open. I don't think it's going to be the same for that, but, if you can get a big stretch where, you're scoring a few goals in a few minutes or something like that to really put the game out of reach, that would obviously be big. Got to get the power play rolling. It has been, I don't care. The power play has scored 4 goals in the last 6 games, or at least, they've had at least 1 power play goal in 4 of their last 6 games. That doesn't matter to me. It's been a higher fire of a unit all season. Tar Reardon has just shown no ability to fix it. It needs to change in a big way because had the Penguins lost on Tuesday night, a big reason for it would have been the power play. Tristan Jarry, I assume he gets a start. He needs to continue to play up to his standards or a little bit higher. DeSmith won the last one against Lightning, but for this one, Jarry, his conditioning is going to back up. He's starting to look 100% healthy. Need to see if he can, get fully back there. I'm not going to say he's fully back yet, but he's definitely on his way. And I think a start against Tampa Bay where he plays well, that would go a long way into making that happen. Be nice if to get some more depth scoring. Last night, it was the top six that led the way. If they can, repeat that recipe from Sunday where Jeff Carter, Teddy Blueger, Drew O'Connor, and Brian Dumoulin score, at least some of those guys score, that would be awesome. You can't just be relying to beat a team like Tampa Bay with just your top six. In both meetings against Tampa Bay this season, they've had their depth step up. In the first one, Jeff Carter scored. Ricard Raquel, though he's in the top six. He played well in that game. But, funny enough, Carter has scored in both games against Tampa this year. Teddy Blueger obviously got one, Brian Dumoulin. So, maybe someone to keep an eye on is Jeff Carter, for this one because, he hasn't scored a lot this season, but against Tampa Bay, he's had at least one goal. Want to see how they start the game. They gave up a breakaway 20 seconds into the game against Nashville on Tuesday night. That's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. They were lucky that Jarry was able to bail them out there when Mikael Granlund came in. But this one's going to be a lot of fun. Final game before the deadline. We'll have to see if there's a move made before then. I don't know. I think Hextall might just be doing what he did last year, Jens. He's kind of playing with fire, hoping these prices drop in the next 45 plus hours here. He got lucky with Raquel. Is Lightning going to strike twice, whether it comes to JT Miller, Jakob Chychrun, Brock Boeser? Who knows? And then I'll end the show with a huge shout out to Drew O'Connor. Play one of his finest games of the season on Tuesday night. Was forechecking relentlessly. Got a couple of quality scoring chances. Also is defending well. He looks like he is a player that needs to be in this lineup on an every night basis, especially if a forward or two is moved out for some forward help. He needs to stay in this lineup permanently. He deserves it right now. He's playing good hockey. And you can see his confidence building game after game after game. Really like what I'm seeing from him. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Penguins podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. It's a big week here for this team and obviously the show. Keep it right here on Locked On Penguins as you all will be the first to know on any latest rumors, any trades for the Penguins, everything regarding this team. You all will be the first to know. So thank you all so much for listening. For my Thursday episode, we're going to have a full game recap for the game against Tampa. And then on Friday, the true magic will happen as we will have a show reacting to all of the breaking news regarding this team if they make a big blockbuster by then. But again, thank you all so much for listening. I will talk with you all on Thursday.